Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Cat's Track. We post an interview with an amazing Canadian each weekday for your daily inspiration. Today, I would like to introduce you to my dear friend, Iggy Domagalski. Iggy was born in Poland, grew up in Winnipeg, and with his wife and amazing daughters, they now call Calgary home. Yay! I, along with many others, are very happy about that. Iggy is passionate about supporting his community and has served on the boards of the Learning Disabilities Association, the International Society of Automation, and the Kids Cancer Care Foundation. You will also find him speaking about innovation and culture and has been recognized as one of Canada's top 40 under 40, and so well deserved. Iggy is also CEO of Tundra Process Solutions, a Western Canadian distributor and manufacturer of innovative process technologies. Tundra has been named one of Canada's best managed companies and an Imagine Canada Caring Company for outstanding community support. And I know so many of Iggy's colleagues, and they absolutely love working at Tundra, and I can see why. I'm a huge fan. Friends, you will find Iggy's full bio attached. Enjoy. Iggy, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Kat. So excited for our next little time coming up here. And also a big thank you to you. During these weird times, it's nice to have really great content put out into the world and good positive content. So thanks for doing what you do.
Thank you, Iggy. Thanks again. May we start with the questions that I sent you this week?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So the first one being, oh my gosh, the toughest one. What's been your greatest challenge in the last 2 months?
Well, there's been a lot. I think the first obvious challenge that everyone has is just business is way down. And, this isn't a slow onslaught of business going down or a competitor slowly taking your market share. I mean, it was overnight that business is down, and how do you react, and how do you manage your cash flows, and any kind of preparatory planning or contingency planning or emergency planning that you ever did. Most of it, to be honest, was out the window and had to be restarted from scratch. And we didn't even have anything to compare it to. I mean, there's nothing like this. The last time was the Spanish flu, and I don't know anyone that's over 100 years old that was in business 100 years ago. So that's the obvious challenge, but that's the challenge that everybody's dealing with. And I think our company is fortunate that we still have some business coming in the door. We sell industrial process equipment to oil and gas, pulp and paper, municipal, commercial, all sorts of industries, and they still need things, right? They still need service, they still need some products to keep their facilities going. All of our customers are deemed essential services, and so are we. So we still have some money coming in the door, but man, oh man, I feel for some of the businesses that were literally shut down overnight. And so I am really grateful for even though we're way down, we're not down to zero. And because of that, we've been able to keep the majority of our people employed. Like others, we've gone through layoffs and salaries reductions, but we've done whatever we can to keep the maximum number of people employed, so that when this thing does come back, that we can be ready to capitalize. So that's been a challenge. And I think generally keeping people motivated and safe. Motivation is tricky when you're working from home. Personally, I hated working from home before. I found it really hard to be motivated, just because I would always bring home my little laptop with my tiny little screen and set up on the kitchen table, and kids might be bugging me, or the TV was on, so I'd get distracted. And I really didn't like it. So about 5 years ago, I just stopped doing it altogether. And whenever I needed to work late, I would stay at the office, or if I needed to work on a weekend, I would go into the office, but I just wouldn't work at home anymore. But now I've kind of been forced to, and as you can see, I'm in my house right now, and like a lot of people, and I figured it out, and it's kind of great now. So I'm ultra effective now, so I really like it. But I've talked to a lot of our people, and they really don't like the working from home, and it's hard to keep motivated and hard to keep on task. So right from the beginning, we got right up into stand-up meetings every day with our teams, so that not to police them in any way or to check up on them, but so that they would learn the technology, because this keeping connected like this, I think, is really important. And I never realized the value of video conferencing until this. And I always thought, it's just another conference call, and it was always a hassle. When there's 4 of you in a boardroom, trying to dial in a few other people, it's not working, the volume's not working. Are you on mute? Is that the right camera? How do we do this? First 15 minutes of every meeting was always a disaster. And even after that, it wasn't productive. But now, I'll be on a conference call, let's say with 10 people, and let's say 8 of them are on and 2 of them are on, but I can't see their camera. Boy, oh boy, what a difference. I feel really connected to the people, and I can see you right now, Kat, so I feel really connected to you. Not as connected as face-to-face, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And but those black boxes on a screen, you feel so disconnected from them, and it's made me realize just what a difference this video thing makes. So we really just drilled that into our company right away to make sure that people had semi-live, semi-face-to-face interaction with people, and that's been really good. But keeping people safe has been a challenge, and safe, I mean, physically and emotionally too, mentally.
Yeah.
So when I look at the physical safety, we did everything that other companies do. We send our people home early to work from home, and we do have people that need to show up to work. We have warehouses, we have shops where people build things using high pressure equipment. You can't do that in your house. So we split up the shift so that there would be social distancing, and then big really thorough cleanings between the shifts, and we did everything possible that you can do. We've done to keep our people safe, and I think most of them do feel safe, but some of them are still a little tepid, and that's okay. So we're trying to work with all our people to make sure that they feel physically safe. But I think the mentally safe thing is really tricky. I was reading a couple articles here that the estimates of unemployment are 25% in Canada and the US. And if you look at just the EI number, it's not close to there. If you look at just the emergency payment number, it's not close to there. But when you start to add them all up, it gets to about 25%. And that is a really hard number to come back from. So people are super scared of losing their jobs. And we try to communicate as much as we can, but it's a reality. So I think that's been a big challenge, is keeping people safe and letting them know that we're doing everything possible to protect jobs, while at the same time being realistic and saying, if our business, is cut in half permanently, that we can't keep 100% of the people. That's just a reality. And so it's been a delicate balancing act, one that I think we're doing okay at, but that's been challenging. And then just dealing with lonely people. And figuring out who the lonely at-risk people are, who might be getting depressed or having issues. And I have virtual coffees with 3 people every day, and kind of rotate through the people in our company, and we just chat about everything. Hey, how you doing? But not too many people are just raring to tell their CEO that they're super depressed. It's just something that they don't want to. A lot of people view that as weakness when it's not, but they view it that way, and they don't want to share that. So it's hard to pick out the people that are having the problems to be able to offer the support that you need to do. And I think it's hard to figure out what the right support is. Mental health before this just seemed to be starting to really get accepted as a real problem. It's back in the day, it was suck it up, and much more recently, I think it was really starting to get recognized as, this is the same as cancer, or this is the same as really hurting your leg really badly. It's an actual, it's a disease or ailment or something that needs help. And I think this whole crisis now is really elevating that, and will give us some really good solutions on dealing with it. Because really what most companies have is the employee assistance program, the EAP, which is that's really the last line of defense. That's right before something bad might happen. They pick up the phone and say, hey, things are really messed up. But I think there's a lot of things that can be done beforehand to check in with people, and there's a lot of programs out there that we're starting to investigate now. So that was a long-winded answer to some of the big challenges: business is down, keeping people pumped up, keeping them feeling safe physically and emotionally, and then trying to pick out the people who are really struggling.
Wow, that's a very progressive approach, but no surprise to me, my friend. this is how you approach always, even before this crisis. So I'm always impressed by how you manage the company and manage the team, and I know you've got some great colleagues that are extremely progressive too. So well done.
Thank you.
The 3 things that you want to share with the audience today.
Oh, 3 things to leave with the audience. So this is a crisis, and there's been a lot of people, I think, through history who have said, don't let this crisis go to waste. And that I think a lot of people really identified this as a crisis, and it still is a crisis. But there's a lot of good things that we can do in this crisis. And I think of everyone, both personally and business-wise, most people have a list of things that they want to accomplish on the personal front. And it's always the same line. If I only had more time, I would do blank. And so for some people, that's learning a musical instrument or a language, or spending more time with their kids, or getting in shape, or picking up mindfulness, yoga, meditation, whatever it is, or reading a bunch of books. The list is endless of what people would like to do if they only had more time. And for most people, they do have more time now. And most people, if they're working from home, have a little bit more control over their time. So I've been trying to encourage our people and friends and family to not let this crisis go to waste on the personal front, and do some things that you really always wanted to do. And it's not like this is a 1-week fiasco that we're dealing with here. Like it's months, and it's still going to be a while. There may be additional waves of this thing. So I think whatever behaviors we pick up now, I think will stick, right? Like if you inserted into your day half an hour of French every day, and you do that for 3 or 4 months, you're probably going to speak French forever.
Yeah.
So I think not letting it go to waste personally, and then professionally too, on the business front. Our management team got together, and we made a list of around 50 things that we'd hope that we could get done in our company if we only had the time. And we're engaging some of our people whose volumes are down and saying, hey, we know your volumes are down, and that's okay. We want to, we're down to 4-day work weeks, and you might be down to 2, and we want to keep you. So we got these really interesting things here that are going to make our company so much better, and we need to come out of this stronger and better than our competition. So let's get to work on these, give you some meaningful opportunities to, show off your skills or learn some new skills. And so just, not letting the crisis go to waste, both on the business front and on the personal front. So I think that's one thing that's been a theme for me and our company. Another one is over communicating. And I was challenged by our marketing department before this whole thing started to start videotaping myself and basically doing little talks to the company, kind of like this, just shorter. And before being on camera like this all the time, I was pretty squeamish about it, and I said I'd think about it, and I never did it. But the feedback that I was getting from our marketing people is that not everyone likes reading emails, right? Like people take in information differently, and I do send a lot of emails communicating with our whole company about what we're doing. But they said, not everyone reads them. Like some people just aren't readers, and any company-wide ones just get deleted. But if there's a video, maybe they would watch it. And I didn't think that would be the case. But when we went into this thing, I said, okay, if there was ever a time to do it, it's now. So I really will try it. And so 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I send out a video. I send an email, and then I said, if you don't want to read this, you can just click the email or click this picture, and a video will pop up, and you can basically watch and hear
Awesome.
what this email says. And that's been pretty successful. So I post the videos on YouTube, so I can see how many. I can't see who watches them, but I can see how many people watch it. And it's a good portion of our company. And maybe those are people that never would have read the notes in the past. So it's been a good way to communicate. And so we do communicate with our company 3 times a week about what's going on with COVID-19, or some good news stories of things that are happening in our company and in our community. And I've received really good feedback. The open communication is nice. So everyone talks to their friends and spouses, and we've heard of some companies where their management has communicated once or twice throughout this whole thing.
Yeah.
And in situations like that, I mean, if in the absence of facts, you make up your own facts.
For sure.
And they're almost always wrong, and they're almost always on the terribly negative side. So that's been a really good one, just to over communicate and consider using different forms of communicating than you've used in the past that might make you feel uncomfortable. So that's the second one. And then the third one is, I think there's going to be some pretty cool opportunities out of this whole thing. If you can get past the, oh my God, we're in a crisis mindset, and more to, okay, we're in a crisis, but all crises bring opportunities mindset, and start looking around with that lens, I think there will be some really good things that will position a lot of companies for growth. Sadly, that might be bankruptcies for some companies that just had really weak balance sheets going into this thing, or that maybe should have been out of business before, and this has really just kind of put the final nail in the coffin. So there will be some of that, but in those opportunities mean all those people that lost their job, maybe they can pick up a job with somebody else like us or other companies. So I think there will be some good opportunities. So I think those are the three things. Don't let the crisis go to waste, and try to communicate or over communicate in different ways than you thought before. Otherwise, people just make it up themselves, and have your eyes open for some neat opportunities that might pop up out of this.
I love it, Iggy. That is great advice. Thank you so much. I've got a surprise question, and I do this occasionally when.
Oh, surprise questions! I like that.
and it's only because of where you were going in what you were saying with your numbers, all three. My question is, what are you and Tundra doing in the area of artificial intelligence? And is there anything you can share with us that tells us what's coming through the windshield for Tundra?
Good question. In AI, we're not doing much, but in terms of adopting newer technologies, we're doing a few things. So in many cases, it's our manufacturers that are investing heavily in those technologies. Okay. And so, I mean, we'll take the credit for that, because those are the products that we sell, and those are the ones that we'll be integrating into our customers' facilities. So we represent some pretty big brand names like ABB and Toshiba, and those are big world leaders. I did the math a couple of years ago, and I think the factory partners that we represent, whose products we sell, cumulatively spend about $9 billion a year on R&D. So they got some really neat things coming down the pipe, specifically Toshiba and ABB, on big data, some predictive things. So they're using AI, but I can't take full credit for it, because it's not our actual engineers doing AI. But some interesting things that we're seeing is augmented reality. So we have a business within Tundra called SSI, and we sell hydraulic actuated rod lift units. So basically hydraulic pump jacks for lifting oil out of the ground, and we sell them around the world. And we had an install coming up for one in Colombia a few weeks ago, and no one's traveling to Colombia right now. It's just not happening. And so we had to figure out how to start this thing up, because it needed to be started up. So normally we would fly one of our guys down there. Usually takes kind of a day and a half to get down there with everything. And then he'd spend 3 days on site, maybe 4, doing the startup, and then come back. And so we found some software that allowed us to do it with augmented reality, and we did it. So our technician, who was supposed to be down there, sat in his office in Calgary and had all the screens and all the information going. And it took us a little longer. It took us 5 days to do it, but we did it. So using their technician and our guy on our end, we were able to have that augmented reality communication. Cool. And it got done. And so that was our first ever remote startup of that equipment, and it proved that, yeah, we can do it. And so I think that is going to fundamentally change a lot of things. I think a lot of customers are just going to realize, hey, we can do this on our own. And a lot of our technicians, well, I think every technician out there, highly technical technician, they offer so much value once they get to the equipment and they can play with it. They don't offer a lot of value when they're driving 15 hours in their vehicle to who knows where. So if we can take that driving time out of the equation, a lot of those folks can maybe spend a little bit more time at home with their family and focus on the value add activities and not on billing the customer for drive time.
I love it.
So that's a pretty cool thing that's happening. And then I think the remote work remotely is it's not AI, but that's really catching on. We can maybe talk about that one a little bit later. And then on the customer engagement side, just using using a little bit more big data and a little bit of AI to figure out what our customers are wanting and how they're engaging with us digitally, so that we can then parlay that into a better sales experience in person once we're able to get back to that.
You guys are always on the cutting edge. I love it.
We're trying.
Yes. My final question is, what would you like to share as a good news or legacy story with everyone?
I think some really good things will come out of this whole crisis. And one of them is this work at home bit that I just mentioned. The actual work at home it's a concept that really had not taken off that much in Calgary. I know, Kat, your company was able to do a lot of that, but you were in the minority of doing that. And I think a lot of it stems from managers, corporate guys and gals who had come through the ranks of working at a big or small company that always went into the office every day. They drove downtown every day for their entire career. And some millennial came up and said, "Hey, what do you think about me working 3 days from home?" No, that's not the way it works.
No.
You come to the office. That's how you do your work.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be productive at home. You have to be here to do your work. And I think a lot of those folks, and I was one of them, I did not believe in working from home because I sucked at it. I was terrible at it. I was not productive. So I thought, well, how can other people be productive if I'm so terribly unproductive here? But once you figure it out, once you get the video and you get the monitors set up and you get your ergonomics and you get your family understanding that they can't bug you all day and the TV's not in the same room. Yeah. And I can only imagine, a year from now when $1 billion is dumped into technologies like Zoom, is I'm going to be able to reach out and touch you through this screen.
Right.
And when people finally say, okay, well, if working from home is going to be a permanent thing, a few days a week, I'm really going to set up at home. Because I think a lot of people are still just working off of a kitchen chair and a table, maybe with a couple monitors. But once they really get set up and say, okay, we're going to turn this area into a real office, get the ergonomics down, get the video really down and really dialed in, just the work from home experience will be so much better. And I think about a company like ours, and I think we're a very average kind of company, right? Like we have people that come into the office, we have some salespeople, we have inside salespeople, we have technicians and project managers and accountants and marketing people, and all very normal functions that every company has. And I'm convinced that a lot of those people can do their job partially from home. I think coming into work is still really important. The office banter, the water cooler talk, face-to-face meetings are important, but maybe not every day. And I've been polling some of our people and saying, what would be your ideal balance? Yeah. If you could, now that you've worked from work 5 days a week for your whole career, now you've worked from home 5 days a week, and maybe you don't want to go back to either one of those, but what would be the ideal? And a pretty average answer that I'm getting is, 2 days a week from home would be really great.
Yeah.
That would be really nice. Most people are saying that now that they're set up, they're really productive from home. No one's bothering them, but that they definitely still miss the office. So if they had that 3 days a week and then 2 days of just crushing work from home, they think that would be really good. Plus 2 days of no commute, plus 2 days of not having to find a parking spot,
right?
Plus 2 days of no spending money on gas or going out for lunch. Like all these things add up. At the end of the year, you get your T2200 tax form, so you can claim a little bit on your income taxes. And I think a lot of employers will have that conversation and say, okay, but the thing that you give up is your own desk. And now you, Joe and Jane are going to share a desk. There's going to be a picture of your family and of Joe's family. And, so you guys, you're going to be in the office Monday, Tuesday. You're going to be in the office Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's how it's going to be every week for the next year. Are you cool with that? And a lot of the people are saying, hell yeah, I would definitely do that. Yeah. And so I think that will lead to generally happier workers. If they want to spend some time at home, and once they get consistent, like if you knew that Monday and Tuesday were your day at home, you could work your life around that. And if you had kid commitments, you could figure all that out, save some money on whatever areas on the commute and childcare and things like that, and probably be more efficient and happier. And for businesses, that means less real estate. Probably 20% less real estate. I would, if I was to guess, like 5 years from now, I would say 20% less office real estate will be needed because people will be working from home, which also means less cars on the road, which means less traffic and congestion. And so I think there's a whole bunch of good things that will come out of that. I think that's a really positive story. Super negative if you're the owner of a lot of office downtown buildings. That's going to be a bad story, I think, in my opinion. I think those companies over the next 5 years are going to have some serious pain, and which will not be good. But I don't think that this is going away. I think everything else will come back. Airplane travel will come back. People will start going to the movies again. People will do all the things that they did before. But if 20% of the workforce, or if 100% or 80% is working partially from home, it's going to make a big difference. So there's that, and I think there'll be more of a focus on mental health, which I think will be really positive. A lot of employers will realize, hey, it's a real thing. I think some managers that have never personally gone through real loneliness or depression or pseudo depression or whatever that is, they'll personally go through it, and I think a lot of people will, especially those folks that are, maybe they're single. So they got their work, but they don't have a family or a partner that's over at their place. And so they'll really, really feel that. And I think that will encourage them to invest money in having better programs and workplaces. So I think just mental illness will, and mental health generally it'll get a step up and being taken more seriously and just being acknowledged. So I think those are two really good things that I think will come out of this, that I hope come out of this.
Oh, I love it. I agree with you, Iggy. You and I share the same, and certainly the same goals around mental health, brain and mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you again for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the time. Thanks, Kat.
Everybody, thanks again for joining Cat's Track. That was my amazing friend, Iggy. Now you all know why we all love him. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you at the next episode.
We love you too, Kat. Thank you.
Thanks.